Doctor Who's 60th anniversary episode is coming up in November, and what better time to do a Doctor Who related video? November, actually, now that I think about it. For those who don't know, I've always loved this show. I haven't seen the show before the 2005 reboot, which I think is the case for most people, but if you want to go ahead and call me a fake fan in the comments below, go ahead. I'll take any traffic on the videos that I can get. So this show is known for some of the most iconic villains and monsters in television history, with enemies like the Daleks, the Cybermen, Davros, the Master, the Weeping Angels, the list goes on. I personally love the Master. That dude once killed somebody with a plastic chair. The show has an abundant villain roster it can call upon throughout every series, but that roster also includes some really bad monsters. Let's take a look. Oh wait, before I start, I just want to point out the obvious that yes, these villains and monsters are from about 40-50 years ago, and I know costume design and effects could never match up with what we have today, but I mean, it's still fun to look back and laugh at. And stick around because one of them is a dick. Literally, a dick. Number 1, The Guardian. This list is in no particular order, but I had to start with this. What the fuck is this? Back in 1971, in a story called A Colony in Space with John Pertwee's third Doctor, he went face to face with a being known as the Guardian. It was built up to be a powerful villain, then it was just revealed to be this testicle-looking puppet sat on a chair inside a wall. Like seriously, what's he doing just sat in that wall? Say what you want about how it looks, but at least it had a big, powerful voice to intimidate everyone. Oh no, it didn't. It didn't. It sounded like this.
My city is forbidden. Why have you come here?
What the hell is even that?
Yeah, so naturally it was never seen again. Bring it back, I say. Don't even change the look of it. That's what I want to see in the 60th.
I don't know who I am anymore.
All intruders in the city must die. That is the law.
I mean, I love Barney Stinson, but he's never going to scare me as much as this thing. Imagine waking up with that staring at you at 3 AM.
What's up?
Number 2, The Vord? I'm going to say Vord. Terry Nation is a name associated with Doctor Who for being the man who created some really good things, most notably the creation of the show's most iconic villain, the Daleks. However, this creation, not so good. I can see why he thought if making pepper pot dustbins with whisks went down well, and there really wasn't much to lose with having monsters who were essentially just men in diving suits. I mean look, they even had flippers for God's sake. That's probably the worst part about their costume design too, as they cause one of the actors in the suit to slip and fall over. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the original episode. Reshoots were an expensive thing to do back then, so it's still in there. But they were a race of semi-aquatic aliens that tried to take over ocean planets and appeared very early in the show's history. In fact, only a year after the show began in 1963. They were introduced in the first Doctor, William Hartnell's story, The Keys of Marinus. Again, another villain that was only ever seen once and never again. They appeared again in other Doctor Who media, but never the show. But never say never in Doctor Who. Who knows if they can ever be back.
Who knows?
Number 3, The Zabi. The Zabi also debuted in the early 1960s era of William Hartnell's Doctor in the Web Planet saga. And they're basically, well...
Ants! Ants! Ant-Man!
But they were also secretly Daleks in disguise. Well, not in the story, but behind the scenes they were. Because the people inside the ant costumes were also the same people operating the Dalek suits. I'm not sure how well they could see as the ants though, because one of them just straight up runs into the camera. They communicated by rubbing their legs together and making this horrible sound. Again, never seen again on television. Number 4, The Quarks. Like I said before about how if the Daleks were successful given the way they look, then it was worth a punt for the show to try and replicate them with similar looking beings. 5 years after the Daleks debuted, in 1968, fans of the show were introduced to the Quarks.
Doctor!
Don't do it!
Doctor, look! Oh my word!
Shall we destroy? Shall we destroy?
It was a day off work for the guys inside the Zabi and Dalek costumes though, because the Quarks were actually played by schoolboys. I can see why they thought they would be creepy with their childlike voices and giggling, but it just didn't work out. They moved pretty slow and always ran out of battery power. There were goons for the main villains in that story called the Dominators. There is a book called The Monster Vault where it's theorised that Quarks weren't actually robots but children who had been used, and yeah. When I talk about the Cybermen briefly near the end of this video, you'll understand what I mean about the Quarks being kids. Yeah, it's not good. For those of you who are already fans of the show, you'll understand what I mean when I basically say that they were kid versions of the Toclafane. Anyway, another one for the never seen again list. Number 5, Dinosaurs. This was very much a case of writing a story, putting it into production before you can stop it, before seeing if you could actually make what you've written into good television. Allegedly, the Doctor Who production team took the model maker's word for it. They could make realistic dinosaurs for their story. By the time they saw what they were going to look like, it was too late to stop the train and the episodes were made. Yikes. I think the Daily Mirror summed it up perfectly when they wrote, the supposedly fearsome Tyrannosaurus Rex looked more like the Muncher from the Chewits advert. They were very bad. You can't really argue with that, can you? They've got a point. I honestly don't think it looks any better than the 1954 Godzilla, which came out 20 years before it. It also feels like the dinosaurs are just saying roar instead of actually roaring. 30 years later, in 2004, the producer of these episodes, Barry Letts, came out and said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Yeah, those dinosaurs fucking sucked. Please don't put my name to those episodes. I wish I could remake them now with modern tech." Not one for the never seen again list though. Dinosaurs are obviously a lot more generic than other monsters or villains. Most notably, they were a feature of their own episode once again in 2012's Dinosaurs on a Spaceship with Matt Smith. These dinosaurs from Old Who though were part of the 1974 Invasion of the Dinosaurs story, which has its own controversy that I'm not really going to go into here, but you can go look it up yourself if you're interested. But basically it involves the original tapes of the episodes being deleted deliberately by the BBC for some sketchy and sus looking reasons. Like I said, worth looking into if you're interested, but not just yet, because next up, number 6, a giant rat. Yep. Even the Doctor has to deal with pest control from time to time. During Tom Baker's The Talons of Weng Chiang story in 1977, the Doctor finds himself down in the London sewers and face to face with a giant rat. I mean, it looks pretty awful, doesn't it? I mean, from footage I can find, you never seem to be able to see it that well anyway, which might be a good thing, but I think it looks way too clean for a sewer rat for a start. British historian and TV presenter Dominic Sandbrook once said that the giant rat was, and I quote, "one of the worst realised monsters, not merely in the show's history, but in the history of human entertainment." Oh, wow. Not the biggest problem with this episode though. I'd say the fact that they have a white dude playing a Chinese man and the use of racial slurs is a much bigger issue. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it was set in Victorian London, so I'm sure that would have been historically accurate of some people's attitude towards minorities at the time, but still. Fair enough, I haven't seen the episodes for context, but on the face of it, it's not something you ever really want to see or hear, is it? Mainly though, I'm not sure why they couldn't just get an Asian guy for the part. I mean, there's no defending that in my opinion. I think that's just awful. But that's a whole other controversy that again, you can look into for yourself and form your own opinion on. I don't ever plan on getting too political on this channel, but wanted to acknowledge it. Number 7, the Taranwood Beast. Taran. It's a man in a costume, who cares? This is one of my favourites though, honestly. Basically, it looks like your dad dressed up in a Toys R Us costume to scare the kids at Halloween. I'm guessing it was meant to be scary, but if they wanted that, they should have just used the costume that the BBC already owned and brought in Mr. Blobby. Ooh. It was featured in the story The Androids of Tara. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm saying it like the name. Just once in the first episode and then never again. Except on the cover of the 72nd Doctor Who DVD Files DVD, which I randomly found during my research. Last seen running off into the woods after being scared off pretty easily. We can only guess it's been plotting revenge ever since. Never been seen again. Number 8, the Bandrills. The fact that sometimes, much like the sewer rat, I find it hard to find footage or even different images of something says a lot of how little remembered it is, or how badly the show wants you to forget it even ever existed. This is the case with the Bandrills. They were aliens that were threatening to invade the planet of Carfel during Colin Baker's run as the Doctor. They were built up as this big threat and then, yeah, sort of looked like Mick Foley's Mr. Socko and Santino and Rella's Cobra had a child. It really is a hand puppet as well, and clearly looks like one too. Not to mention it too had a silly voice.
The missile has been destroyed, but so has his TARDIS.
WhatCulture.com brutally wrote, "There's no point in even trying to suspend belief on this one. Belief would have to be surgically removed from your body and then transplanted into someone else in order for you to believe this was a serious attempt to suggest an alien life form. Never seen again, probably turned back into a regular sock." Number 9, my cat. No, not really, he just interrupted the video. I thought I'd put him in there for some views. Number 9, Mestor the Magnificent and the Gastropods. Humanoid slugs sound pretty terrifying and just all round gross, but this looks more like an owl to me. Combined with the face, his voice was pretty muffled and he couldn't really move at all.
He is dead.
Mercy, great master! Mercy! My family is starving!
The enemy are starving. It is no defense. Now your family will have to starve without your company.
He just doesn't look very threatening at all, does he? His plan, by the way, was to spread his kind's eggs throughout the universe and turn everybody into gastropods. I mean, I've heard of spreading your wild oats, but this just takes the biscuit. The best thing I found in researching the episode the gastropods were in was just the scenes where the 6th Doctor's just being a dick to everybody, and I absolutely love it.
Sorry about that. Wait a minute, I remember you. You're the Chamberlain.
Yes, that's right, sir.
I don't like you.
But, sir, I must get away from here.
Then I suggest you start walking.
What about the rest of the people on this planet?
They'll survive.
Who'll lead them?
Well, certainly not that thing.
You must help, Doctor.
They're quite capable of looking after themselves.
I've nothing to go back to Earth for. I've no one there.
That I can believe.
Then I suggest you take a crash course in manners.
I am the Doctor. Whether you like it or not.
Anyway, Mestor the Magnificent and any gastropod thing were never seen in Doctor Who TV again. Number 10, a penis! Kinda. Erato, the creature from the pit? Okay, well it's not actually a penis, but you can't deny it doesn't look like one.
After his previous experience, the Doctor approached the thing with the utmost caution and thoughtfully sucked it off.
It was trapped in a pit, and that clip was the Doctor communicating with his proboscis by blowing on it. Yeah. Family show, by the way. Get your minds out of the gutter, will ya? Okay, so there's plenty more I could mention, but one in particular I literally forgot to record a part for was the Menoptera. This has probably got to be the worst of the bunch. Even worse than the penis, because let's be honest, that's just more of an in-your-face innuendo than a bad costume. They look like somebody cosplaying as Gold Dust from his WWF days. They're in the Web Planet 2, the same episode as those giant ants, the Zabi. They're meant to be butterflies, but look more like bees to me. Let me know what you think. I mean, their legs are even sticking out of their costume. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this one, honestly. I feel like it speaks for itself, but I could not leave them out of the video. We'll let them off again, though, because this was like 1963, to be fair, and on a very low television budget. One thing I will say before I end this video is, I actually am quite a fan of a lot of the old costumes instead of the ones that we saw in the modern era. Take the Cybermen, for instance. These guys are humans with emotions removed and shoved into a metal suit. Remember what I said about the Zabi being kids? They started as humans who mutilated themselves to survive, which makes this look so much scarier. The fact it looks like a human-made design makes it look even more real and feel way more haunting when you know the truth of what they are. The modern designs are great, but this is an instance where I think the old school look is far more unsettling, which, other than the nostalgia and ratings pop, is why they brought this look back in Series 10 with Peter Capaldi's Doctor. It fit with the story they were telling about the Cybermen, and I've been way more intimidated by the Cybermen ever since. Another example is the Sontarans. They basically all look like Mr. Potato Head, but like he's all had his head mixed up, like them people in the first Spy Kids.
It's like a potato. Baked potato. Talking baked potato.
Now, Ross, don't be rude. You look like a pink weasel to him.
They looked great in New Who when they were brought back in David Tennant's era, but recently with Jodie Whittaker they once again went with the old classic design, and I really liked it. The weirder they are, sometimes the better they look, you know? I mean, you can't tell me that the Autons don't look way scarier and creepier in the older series than they do in the newer one. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the worst monsters and villains we've seen in Doctor Who throughout its 60-year run. Who knows? Maybe in 40 years' time, in the 100th anniversary, people will look back at this era and say, oh my god, those special effects and costumes are absolute shite! I mean, to be fair, there is already some instances where I think I'd probably say that now, but maybe I'll leave that for a future video. Not in 40 years though, hopefully I'll have a proper job by then. Hey! If you're a fellow film fanatic and serial TV show binger, this is the place for you. Be sure to check out all of the videos I have here discussing the latest movies and shows and generally just having a good old time. I'd love to have you around, so make sure you click that subscribe button and that bell thingy to be notified of all future videos. Now stop watching this. and go check out the videos.
and thoughtfully sucked it off.